Hi, everyone. Today we have Josh Jensen, the founder and CEO of Inspectify, joining us. Thanks for coming on, Josh. We're excited to hear more about Inspectify. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Thanks so much for having us.
For sure. Um, I guess we'll just go through a few questions on how agents can use Inspectify. Um, a lot of our agents don't even know that, they can sign up for Inspectify. So we're hoping that this helps just kind of let our agents learn more about the product and then, hear it directly from you on just kind of how the best agents use it and just anything else that comes up. So, I mean, we can just start with simple questions, but what is Inspectify? How did you come up with the idea and how is, it being used by most agents today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kind of start with my background and how that dovetails into what the business is. So, and I've been in the broader prop tech real estate space from a technology perspective for the last 7 or 8 years. Before Inspectify, I was working at a company called Fly Homes, which was one of the first power buyers, and managed everything from tours to offer management, and inspections were one of my many things that I wore a hat for. And what I realized from my time at Inspectify is, inspections can create a pretty significant operational headache for brokerages, teams, individual agents, and a lot of it's driven by how fragmented the space is. 30, 40,000 sole proprietors. It's not standardized, so I always give the classic example that if you inspect the same home 5 times, it's 5 different inspectors, you get 5 completely different reports, right? And what we're trying to solve with Inspectify is to remove that operational headache for top performing agents and teams and brokerages, but also try to drive some standardization within the process, so you can start to rely on and depend on the results of an inspection. The other part of my background is I've been active in real estate as an investor, as a consumer, for the better part of 15 years. So my wife and I have bought and sold and renovated over 50 homes over the last decade. So have worn the hat of investor, the owner, operator. Still use our local agent though on all transactions because can't replace that. But I've done basically everything else.
Yeah.
And so that kind of sums up what Inspectify is now. We describe ourselves as a vertically integrated property inspection platform. Really, there's two components of our platform. One, we've built the largest network of licensed inspectors in the US. We have about 15% of all inspectors on our platform. A lot of those inspectors come from our agent partners to be able to bring their inspectors on the platform, but we also get a lot of organic inspectors that join. And then the backside of the platform is we built the technology that these inspectors use to complete these inspections. And that's how we can drive standardization for these inspections. Texas is one of the better states in the country around this with the track form. But even within that, you still get some inconsistencies. And by having inspectors use our software, we're able to drive a much more consistent output, but also start to unlock more value out of the data that's being captured. So one thing that's different about us, about other platforms, is if you do an inspection through Inspectify, we give you cost data on all the defects that are found. And we can do that programmatically because the reports have been standardized. So that's a 30,000 foot on my background and kind of why we started Inspectify, and kind of a little bit about what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, it looks like you're in a house right now that you're remodeling the background.
It's my own
Yeah.
house that it's slowly getting there, but it's you think I should go to another office, but it actually fits the job a bit. So
Yeah.
I do meetings here. I was doing calls this morning from downstairs, but my tile guys put tile in, and the saws is too loud. So if you hear some rumblings in the background, I apologize. But I think I find the quietest spot in the house for this call.
Yeah, that's funny. Uh, well, I know, like, just as an agent day to day, like I know a lot about how the product works, but I mean, the main use case and how it started was, I get a property under contract, it's the classic, like, oh, I need to get an inspector in there ASAP. I mean, that was kind of how the platform started, just helping schedule inspections. Um, but I guess, how just in the most basic terms, how do you think, or what do you think most agents like the best about Inspectify, and what makes it, something that they work into their day-to-day workflow and not just like a one-off thing, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think you summarized it that velocity is still pretty critical in real estate, right? Like yeah, getting the inspection scheduled as soon as possible, not to rush the inspection, but to provide more time to your client to be able to digest and understand what's going on
Right.
in this large asset they're ready to buy. And so I think that's the kind of the first value prop to agents is, you can book an inspection through Inspectify in a matter of 3 clicks, and we can do inspections next day. You get reports back within 5 hours of the inspection. So it's all about, intentional velocity to be able to get, results back quickly. But I think where agents, really start to see the value of the platform is, if you've been practicing real estate for a handful of years, you most likely have an inspector or two that you've worked with, right? And what makes our platform powerful is you can add those inspectors to our platform. So we're not trying to break that relationship, but we've all been in this situation before, whereas my client gets under agreement and I need to get the inspection done tomorrow. And I text my inspector, I call my inspector. He's like, "Oh, I've got 2 other inspections. I'm sorry, I can't squeeze you in." Because, inspectors are work with a lot of, other agents as well.
Right.
And the power of our platform is you have backfills, right? You've got this broad network that we have curated that other agents refer to that you can tap into, that if your go-to inspector is busy, you can jump and use somebody else to get those inspections completed. And we standardize the whole flow.
Right. Yeah, that was when I remember first talking to you about it. It's like, what if you have an inspector that you love working with, but they're not on the platform? Is it, check this out? Like, how do you find most agents get their favorite inspectors onboarded and things like that? Because I know it can help the inspector get more business, but even more so than that, it just helps with like the reporting. And I've seen the reports, but it just how do agents kind of cross that bridge with their inspector if they have 2 or 3 that they love to use?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all about ease of use, and then you hit the nail on the head. Like, there's more business that we unlock for inspectors, right? The average inspector on our platform, 50 to 60% of their business comes from us, so we can be a huge growth channel for these inspectors. Because we work a ton with brokerages and agents and consumers. We also do a lot with investors and property managers and construction lenders. So we unlock a whole new, channel of business for these inspectors. That can kind of outweigh the software and other things that we require on our platform for that standardization. And we make it really easy for the agent to be able to add them, right? They can go into their Inspectify account, which most agents at Pinnacle have access to, where they can search our network and see if their inspectors are already on there. They might already be on the platform, and they can just add them as a preferred inspector to their account. So now when they go through the order flow, or let's say you have your client go through the order flow, our software is going to assign the inspection to that inspector first if they're available, right? If they're not available, then we can tap into our other network to support it. We make it really easy for you to go find your inspector, and if they're not on there, you'll be able to add them, and then our team gets notified to call the inspector. We know which agent recommended them, and talk through the value props of the platform. So we like to, share with our agents, the value inspectors get out of it, but we do the heavy lifting to get them set up and get them kind of on the platform ready to go. But we make it really easy for agents to be able to add and kind of manage that curated list for their clients.
Right. Yeah, one thing you just said was a good topic, but the agents can also just share the tool with their clients. So if I get a property under contract, I'm like, "Hey, client Alex, here's a link if you want to schedule and read reviews." Because that was something when I was an agent, I always wanted to suggest multiple people, but at the end of the day, you kind of want them involved in that part of the process, because it's one of the most important things of the transaction. Some clients are like, "Oh, hey, just book whoever you think is best or whatever," but I just love how y'all have made it easier also to kind of bridge that part of the closing process too. So it's like, how explain how that works a little bit, just for the agents that haven't used it before.
Yeah. I mean, I think as agents, you want to do as much as you want for your clients, right? And a lot of times it takes a form of, you end up booking the inspection because the client may not know when to schedule the inspection, right? Because we have to coordinate access with the listing agent. So it's hard to kind of just pass that task on, especially when you're trying to offer the best services level as possible. And so, how we've approached that is, one, we make it, to be blunt, stupid easy to book an inspection, right? It's literally 3 to 4 clicks, and you can get the inspection scheduled. But one thing that's been new on our platform in the last year is we've launched a native integration to showing time, where, like, if the property's on showing time, we can actually book it instantly. So it really just empowers your client to be able to find the time that works for them, lines up when the house is available, and then listing agent, everybody gets notified. You get a counter invite when the client's booked it, and it's a situation where like you can keep arm's length between the brokerage and the inspection process, but still
Right.
provide your client a platform that makes it really easy to get the inspection done. And to your point, they feel involved in the process. They feel empowered by the process, right? And so, it's a situation where the client feels a bit more in control as they kind of go through this very stressful, life-changing
Right.
event of buying a home.
Yeah. And in terms of like types of inspectors and things, is every, in some markets, you have very specific things like in California, I remember there were certain inspections that you had to do that I had literally never heard of before living in California. And then in Texas, there's different inspections that are all kinds of inspectors on there. I mean, I think I know the answer to this question, but I just kind of want to highlight it's not just general inspections, it's pool inspectors, termite, all kinds of things, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like we know that some homes, might have more specialized issues, or some locales might have specialty inspections needed. So we've built that network across multiple inspection types, right? So if you want to get your home inspection, you want to get a sewer scope, you want to get a pool inspection, a radon. In California, it's big on termites. You do a lot of termite inspections in California. You can do that all from one single platform, right? And so, booking an inspection by itself is already hard enough. When you start adding on coordinating all these other inspection types, it gets almost unsolvable. And we built the technology and the software that handles that, right? And by and large, like we help coach and train our inspectors to have them start to offer those services as well, right? Because if we could have one person come and do the home inspection, the sewer scope, and the radon, it just makes everybody's life easier. Your client has one person to talk to versus three different folks to talk to. So,
Right.
we're trying to support that more and more, but there are, some very specialized inspections that, a good example is, let's say we do the general home inspection. We realize that the foundation is buckling. There's some type of major foundational issue. Well, a normal licensed inspector is not qualified to tell you exactly what the cause of that or exactly what the cost is to fix that. And that's where you really want to bring in somebody specialized, like a structural engineer or even a foundational repair company. We can coordinate that activity. We never start with that. It's not like you show up to our portal and you want to inspect a home and we say, oh, you should do a foundation inspection as well. We usually start with the general. That gives us a good synopsis on the condition of the asset in the home, and we can recommend other inspections based upon that, and gives you one single platform to coordinate all of that.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a great example because I remember in Texas a lot, you would start with general and then just kind of keep going down the list, like mold or pool or there's a lot of old pipes in Dallas, so everyone would kind of do the sewer scopes. And a lot of times it was plumbers that would do those, not even sometimes inspectors didn't want to do those just because of the liability and different things in certain cities and things like that. But no, that's helpful. I guess one other thing is how does the cost work for the agents? Like, is there a fee to use the service and things like that?
I mean, through our partnership with Pinnacle, there's no ongoing cost to the agent as well. You can use the platform, your clients can use the platform. There's no software costs at all. You just pay for your inspections booked, right? So it's just like working with other inspection vendors you work with today. You just pay for the inspection. We have standardized the price. That's one thing that's different is, what we noticed is because the industry is fragmented, not standardized, you would see pretty broad ranges. Like you'd have some inspectors charge $200 and some inspectors would charge $900. And it made no sense. It was like the same service. And so because we've done hundreds of thousands of inspections across the country, we know what the market rates are for inspections. And so that's been standardized, right? And so your client can start to rely on that. You can start to rely on that like, this is what the fair market price is for an inspection. And that's what you pay. And there's no other hidden costs on top of that. So you kind of pay as you use is the model for inspections.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's helpful. I mean, is there anything else that you would normally share that we're not thinking of that you think would be helpful to our agents that haven't used it before?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it briefly in the overview, but another feature that our agents love that use us is that repair cost data, right? So if you think about the thing that's typically happening right after your inspection is your client's looking to say, okay, there's 15 things wrong. What do I do, right? And a lot of times you're calling
Right.
contractors or using your network. And, contractors know those jobs don't convert, right? Because folks out there don't know home yet. So they're hesitant to come take a look at it. And so we built the software that based upon the inspection results, we will give you localized cost data to remedy those, right? And I want to say these are take home prices. This is, you take this to a contractor and they on that price guarantee, but for the purpose of negotiation, it's got a 5 to 10% margin of error. So it puts you in the right ballpark, right? This gas water heater replacement in DFWs and costs you $1,300, right? Plus or minus 10% gets you a ballpark where you're going to be. And so that just comes included with the
Right.
service. And so within a day of having your inspection, you now have this cost report that you can go back to the listing agent and offer either some type of concession or have them make the repairs, and you actually have a independent third party data set to help you back that claim. So that's something that the agents use a lot. We're also rolling out additional functionality where you can adjust and actually make a formal inspection response in the software, right? So you can take one of our reports and say, okay, let's say there's 20 things wrong with it. We only care about these 12. Here's the quote for it. This sums up what we want to make for a concession on the list price. So we're putting those tools out there to make your life easier, to improve your efficiency, and hopefully drive a much better outcome for your client.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Because that was one of the biggest pains, as an agent. You get the inspection, you read through it, and then you have to start getting people to go out to the house and give bids, and then, coordinating all that becomes a pain. So yeah, getting the instant data, and even though, like you're saying, it might not be 100% accurate, but at least gives you like a benchmark to have a conversation without having to waste another week. Or, sometimes like last year, some of these inspection periods were non-existent, or 5 days. I think that's changing a lot right now, so it's going back to more normal timelines. But that was always literally one of the biggest pains of the entire process. Oh, you got to get the handyman or the plumber or the roofer, and you're trying to coordinate it because they have 2 kids in the house that nap between these hours, and they don't want to let anyone in the house, and all kinds of things. So I think that is a cool feature for people to know about. But I mean, I'm trying to think that, this has been super helpful for me. I know I know the product well, but just like in summary, thinking about it for our agents, it's, we have a partnership with Josh and Inspectify. We're really trying to just share info on cool tools and things that we think will make, your life better as an agent. And this one to me is one that, we could get a lot more adoption out of. It doesn't cost anything, and I've gone through the tool a bunch of times myself, and it's super easy to use. It's like Expedia type format, but for inspectors. If you're used to booking a plane flight or something, it's just as easy as that without as much distraction on the sidebar windows. But we'll share more info when we share this video. And yeah, thanks for doing this,
Yeah,
Josh. It's been awesome.
absolutely. Yeah, and we've got Julia is on the line here, and she's your dedicated account manager for Inspectify. So, if there's questions and this comes up, we would love to jump on a call and help any way we can. If it's how to use the platform, how to get your inspectors on it, anything in general, we'd love to have the conversation, help out any way we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for having us.